So good afternoon. Welcome to our cybersecurity class, February 11th, 2026.
Right, so here's our agenda for today. This is my full-blown DoD cybersecurity presentation. I present this about 4 or 5 times a year, different venues, but this is the only time that I'm able to present my full-blown everything, nuts to soup on cybersecurity. So we get into the background, the timeline, the current status, implementation, impact on you, the 3 levels of cybersecurity certification, what it will cost. Then we'll take a 7-minute break. That's about halfway through. When we come back, we will answer your questions that you put in chat during the break, and then we'll answer all those and then continue on to the second half where we'll talk about cybersecurity safeguards and controls for level 1 and 2, assessment process, it's getting certified, organizations that can help you get your certification, what are the 5 clauses to look for in a solicitation, and we'll end up with a number of quiz questions to check your retention. Then we'll get into a summary and we'll do our final Q&A and then a wrap up after that. So you should have received this PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully you printed it. It's about 50 pages to make your notes and questions as I present the material. My background, I retired after 41 years of federal service. My last 29 years of those 41 years was as a contracting officer with the Department of Defense. The majority of my experience was in construction, architect engineering, and service contracts, both pre-award and post-award. Half of my career was overseas in Japan, Cuba, and Italy, and the rest of my contracting career was here at every naval installation in the Puget Sound area, for which there are 10. I also held every position locally in the government-wide purchase card program, which you would know as getting paid with a Visa or a MasterCard. I started working with this Apex Accelerator office the day after I retired. So I've been doing this 7, 8 years now. This is my full-blown class, as I mentioned. I'll take your questions after the 7-minute break, which is be about halfway through the class, and at the Q&A session at the end of the class. I'd like to share with you 3 trivia subjects. The first one, on 60 Minutes, January 31st of 2020, that's now 6 years ago, the outgoing head of the United States Counterintelligence Agency stated with 110% confidence all U.S. citizens' personnel information and data has already been hacked. Trivia number 2. There are 2 kinds of companies in the world: those that have already been hacked and those that are being hacked currently and don't know it. Number 3. North Korea has more than 6,000 full-time Army personnel that are full-time hackers. All 3 of those are pretty scary. Okay, so let's get into our class. CMMC is for unclassified procurements, controlled unclassified information. So the opposite of that is CMMC is not for classified procurements, such as secret or top secret. Classified procurements is a whole different bellywig, processes and procedures. CMMC is for controlled unclassified information. And with any new initiative comes brand new abbreviations and acronyms. So here is a list of them. The ones in orange are the new ones. The ones in black have been around for years. I'll highlight the ones in orange. So a CI is a certified assessor. CMMC there is Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. The AB is the accreditation body. That is the third-party nonprofit organization that the Department of Defense set up to run CMMC for them. CUI, Controlled Unclassified Information. C3PAO is a certified third-party assessor organization. We'll be talking more about them later in the class today. Down below, an OSC is an organization seeking certification. That would be you, the contractor, an OSC. Then there are RPs, RPOs, and RPAs. An RP is a registered practitioner. If you need help getting understanding the controls or safeguards, that is who you would hire, a registered practitioner. An RPO is a registered practitioner organization, and an RPA is a registered practitioner advanced. If you are seeking or needing level 3 certification and need help understanding the 134 controls, then you would want to hire an RPA. SPURS is Supplier Performance Risk System, which is where your certification will reside, and the federal government, or in this case, the Department of Defense, will go there to see that your certification is current in order to award you a contract or for you to award a subcontract to a subcontractor. A little background that started all this. $600 billion in DoD trade secrets lost each year from 300,000 entities. 80% from those entities and $1.1 million from foreign students, for which 34% of them were from China. Adversaries are getting more sophisticated every day, which compromises our troops and warfare fighters' capabilities. This all started because of an old DFARS clause that was in our contracts for many, many years, decades now. And when a contract was awarded, this DFARS clause was in their contract. It required them, once they were awarded a contract, to do a self-assessment of their cybersecurity and report it to the agency. They were not doing that. But it's not just their fault, because the agency's contracting officer wasn't following up with the contractors. So both were at fault. That's what brought about CMMC. So until 2018, companies were required to, like I said, qualify after contract award. Now you have to qualify in order to be awarded a contract or a subcontract. I also learned that it takes less than $2,000 to purchase the software to crack a password. Department of Defense wants to avoid risk from cyber attacks. Universities are centers for innovation and get hacked all the time. Last bullet, important, 205 days to identify a compromise. 69% of those were notified by the FBI coming knocking at their door, telling them, you've been hacked 205 days ago. Did you know that? It took the FBI to inform the company that they got hacked. And 89% of those companies were not cyber compliant. Examples of some hacks in June of 2020. These are kind of getting dated, but still useful. A Chinese military officer was caught leaving the United States with research materials from the University of California at San Francisco after lying on an application to obtain a visitor's visa for work-study exchange program. December of 2020, Russia hacked into the Department of Homeland Security, Departments of Treasury and Commerce, and Fortune 500 companies as results of these entities using SolarWinds software loaded in March and April of 2020. 18,000 entities in the United States use SolarWinds software. The hack was discovered by FireEye, a private cybersecurity company, not a U.S. federal agency. This was a third-party private company that discovered it and reported it to the federal government. June of 2023, Chinese intelligence hacked into an email accounts of 25 organizations, including the U.S. Department of State and other government agencies, to spy on them. The People's Republic of China is steadily improving its cybersecurity capabilities directed against the U.S. and our allies. Here's a couple of examples, this page and the next page. Here's a picture of the United States' latest jet fighter, the F-35, versus the Chinese J-31. Very similar, are they not? There are two visible differences. The one on the left has a spire on the nose. The one on the right does not. And the other, the one on the left, has two jet engines, and the one on the right only has one. In case you don't know which one is ours, it's the one on the right. The one on the right is the F-35. The one on the left is a Chinese J-31. Luckily, I don't know about now, but in the past, they were having problems with their jet engines. So hopefully they still are. So the first F-35 was produced in 2006 for $78 million. The Chinese had no research and development expenditures, thus saved time and money. Chinese produced each of these planes for about $31 million. So, they hack into our systems. They steal our research and development, 6-7 years to develop these things. They save all of those costs and time, and now they've got the blueprints to build it themselves for pennies on the dollar. Next example, aircraft carriers. Very little difference between these two. The one on the right is a U.S. aircraft carrier, and the one on the left is a Chinese aircraft carrier. If you were to look at a side view on these, the Chinese aircraft carrier has the flight deck that swoops up in front. So as they launch a plane, they launch them up into the air. And virtually, that's about the only difference. Once again, they hacked into a subcontractor of a Department of Defense top 5 contractor and worked their way up to the prime contractor and stole the blueprints and drawings to build their own aircraft carrier. So the DoD response introduced cybersecurity model certification CMMC in January of 2022 to restrict and control the export and defense of military related technologies, secure 300,000 plus Department of Defense and non-DoD supplier information systems and networks, to codify cybersecurity practices, and enforce the supply chain accountability to protect the Department of Defense intellectual parties. Current status. Title 32 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 170, is the CMMC program. The final rule was issued on October 14th, 2024, and also required an update on Title 48 CFR, which is CMMC acquisition rule, which became law, meaning codified, on September 10th of 2025. CMMC will be phased in over a 3-year period starting November 10th of 2025. So it became law on September 10th, and 2 months later, it went into effect. Here's a little pictorial that came right out of the Federal Register. 3-year phase-in period. Phase 1, which started a few months ago, November 10th, they're going to select some solicitations that will require a level 1 or level 2 self-assessment in order to be awarded a contract. So you got to be looking out for those solicitations and read if it requires a level 1 certification or a level 2 self-assessment certification. If it does and you don't have it, don't waste your time putting a proposal together unless you think you can get it before you submit your proposal. And in the second year, which will be November 10th of this year, for the following 12 months, they're going to select a few solicitations that will require a phase 2 certification. And you'll have to have your phase 2, level 2 certification in order to be awarded the contract. And if you intend to subcontract, your subcontractors will need a level 2 certification also. And then November 10th of the following year will be phase 3, which is some solicitations that will require a level 3 certification in order to be awarded the contract. So after this 3-year phase-in period, all Department of Defense solicitations will require a level 1, 2, or 3 certification in order for you to be awarded the contract. So CMMC 2.0 certification. Certification requires to be in order to be awarded a contract. All the practices and requirements are laid out for the contractors to start implementing now in NIST Special Publication 800-171A Revision 2 for levels 2 and 3. Then you may ask, well, what about level 1? Level 1 has 15 safeguards in the Federal Acquisition Regulation Clause, which is about 2 pages long, which I will share with you later in this class. I've provided all 15 of those safeguards on 2 pages here for you to have. Cyber AB is currently training registered practitioners and C3POs. Assessments are available now. And as of February 9th, a couple of days ago, these are the numbers. There are currently 97 C3PAOs. There are 542 in the works to get their certification to be a C3PAO, and that's as of January 27th. There are 376 RPOs, 256 RPAs, and 1938 RPs. As of January 27th, there are 773 certified level 2 companies and 34 with a conditional certification. And there are 109 level 2 audits in progress. So as I said earlier, the Department of Defense has over 300,000 contractors. That's prime and subcontractors. They also said in the second year of launching this back, so this would have been about 2021, said that about 60 to 70% of all of their contractors are going to be at level 1, which is basic computer hygiene. And only a dozen or so are going to be at level 3. So the rest, do the math, is about 90,000 companies are going to need a level 2 certification. There are 97 C3PAOs. Those are the companies that you have to enter into contract with for them to come out and do an assessment to see that you are in compliance with all 110 controls of the NIST SP 800-171 Revision 2. Do the math. That is a ratio of 928 companies to 1 C3PAO. So you can see that once you believe that you are ready to have an assessor come out and assess your computer system and physical security to get that level 2 certification, you're going to have to wait. Okay. It has been said in conferences that to get a level 2 certification, it will take about 12 to 18 months. And part of that is out of your control. It's the availability of C3PAOs. And you enter into a contract with them and you're going to get put at the bottom of the queue. And when your company name comes up to the top, then they'll be able to communicate with you and send out an assessor. And hopefully you pass and get your 3-year certification. So part of that certification is every 12 months, a principal of your company needs to reaffirm that you are still in compliance with the 110 controls for level 2. And for level 3, it's 134 controls. And after 3 years, you have to have another assessment again. This is the NIST SP 800-171 Revision 2. It was published in February of 2020. There's the verbiage on that. It governs controlled unclassified information in non-federal information systems and organizations. At the bottom, I have the website for CMMC Level 1 requirements, so you can go directly there. Those are live websites that you can just click on and go and be there. Okay, so what is the difference between NIST Special Publication 800-171 and CMMC? So looking at the NIST instruction is for current requirements, DoD contractors that process and store COI. It has 110 controls and 320 assessments. Can have a plan of action and milestones, perform a self-assessment and submit your score to DoD and the Defense Contract Management Agency and DCSA, conducting audits with the Department of Defense and methodology. So that was the premise for the Department of Defense, and they put their own wrinkle on it and came up with CMMC, which is at the bottom. And it is for all contracts, 3 levels of cybersecurity maturity from basic to advanced. 15 practices for level 1, 110 controls for level 2, and an additional 24 controls for level 3 for a total of 134. All the practices and controls must be implemented, meaning, for example, level 3 is 134 controls. You have to meet all the 110 controls for level 2, and the 15 practices really are part of the 110 controls. In the 4th bullet in red, all DoD contractors will need a certification. A self-assessment for level 1 and level 2 non-critical can be performed. So impact on you, the contractor. It requires a self-assessment and certification prior to award for levels 1 and 2 non-critical. Requires a third-party audit and certification prior to award for levels 2, which is critical, and level 3. A certified assessor will most likely charge by the hour plus their travel costs. So I would recommend to you, I'm a big advocate of market research, is contact more than one and ask them for an estimate. Be diligent about picking the C3PAO or the certified assessor. 4th bullet, certification costs are allowable only as an overhead expense. In your cost proposal, you cannot have a line item for CMMC certification, but you can accumulate your costs and put it in your overhead pool, which will adjust your overhead rate. And that's how you will get compensated for cybersecurity certification costs. Impact on you, the contractor. Subcontractors will have the same CMMC level as the prime contractor or lower based on their statement of work that you provide to them as a subcontractor. Prime contractors are responsible for all subcontractors at all tiers. So it would behoove prime contractors to work with their subcontractors to help them get their cybersecurity certifications. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to subcontract to them. Increased non-compliance penalties and risks, including loss of current and future contracts, and personal and corporate liability, and negative company brand. It does not apply, so this is important. There are 2 exceptions to having to get a cybersecurity certification. First, COTS, commercial off the shelf. If what you are providing to the Department of Defense agency is readily available to the public, that is commercial, off the shelf. It will not matter if it's $1 or $100 million. It is COTS, so you will not need a a cybersecurity certification. The other exception is the micro purchase threshold, which just increased this past October 1st from $10,000 to now $15,000. So each department of the federal executive branch can determine what micro purchase threshold they want, but it cannot exceed $15,000. The Department of Defense has chosen in the past and still does to establish their threshold at the maximum. So the Department of Defense is $15,000. So what does that mean? If what you sell to a Department of Defense agency does not exceed $15,000 on each occurrence, then you will not need a cybersecurity certification. So very important to understand those two, because that could save you money and time in getting a certification. Requirements of CMMC. So it was created from 10 information protection in industry cybersecurity standards. The models address everything from asset controls to systems and information integrity. It includes 3 maturity models. Level 1 is everyday basic cybersecurity. You should already be doing everyday basic cybersecurity. So it should be easy for you to meet the 15 safeguards for FSC to get, FCI for level 1 cybersecurity, which is a self-assessment. Level 2 is good cybersecurity. And when there is CUI, which is for technical information, you'll need to conform to the 110 controls for controlled unclassified information. That is level 2. And level 3 is proactive and advanced cybersecurity, which requires 134 controls. So it's level 2, 110, plus an additional 24 for level 3, for a total of 134 controls for CUI. Last line, each maturity level includes all the prior level domains, capabilities, practices, and procedures or processes. So what we're saying there, level 1, 15 safeguards. If you need a level 2, you're going to meet the 15 safeguards plus the 110 controls in NIST. If you're going for level 3, you gotta be in compliance with level 1, 15 safeguards, level 2, 110 controls, plus the 24 additional controls for level 3. This page also came out of the Federal Register. It is showing from bottom to top, levels 1, 2, and 3. As I mentioned on the previous screen, level 1 is the 15 safeguards, which are embedded in the Federal Acquisition Regulation Clause 52.204-21. And you have to do an annual self-assessment and reaffirmation. Level 2 is the NIST 110 controls. Over in the last column, assessment, you will need to enter into a contract with a C3PAO every 3 years, and it is a self-assessment every 3 years. You have to annually, a principal of the company, to do an annual affirmation that you're still in compliance with those 110 controls. Important, a principal of the company, not your IT person, not your office assistant, but a principal of the company. Level 3 is level 2 plus additional 24 NIST controls. As it says in parentheses, 110 from the NIST controls plus 24 from 800-172. It will require the Department of Defense to do an assessment every 3 years, and you also have to do an annual affirmation that you are still in compliance for those interim years. Here's another pictorial From the top down on the left side, levels 1, you'll see 2 level 2s. That's what I was talking about before. Level 2 self-assessment is non-critical, and level 2 um, critical requires you entering into a contract with a C3PAO to have them come out and do an assessment to see that you are in compliance with all 110 controls. And then level 3, Department of Defense will come out and do the assessment. As a result, if you pass, then your results will go into the internet, into an application called PIEE, for which you will need a login and password that takes 4 hours to 48 hours to get, and then into the software called SPURS. And that's where the agencies will see your certification so they can award a contract to you. And if you're the prime contractor, you'll be able to go there in that same software in SPURS and look up the subcontractors that you are considering subcontracting to and see that they have a current certification also. Because if they don't, you cannot subcontract to them. So the big looming question out there, what is it going to cost us to get our certification? Well, this came right out of the Federal Register, the final notice. There were a number of tables. I selected table 1 for small entities, small businesses. And it is showing across the top, right to left, level 1 self-assessment, about $6,000. Now understand that this is over a 3-year period, but the bulk of the expense is going to be upfront to get the certification or the self-certification. Level 2 self-certification, $37,000. Level 2 is where you have to enter into a contract with a third party to come out and do an assessment on your company, about $105,000. I tell people when they ask me, well, how much is it going to cost me to get a level 2 critical certification? And I will give you the old contracting officer's answer. It depends. So the examples that I give, if your company is located in Seattle and everybody works there, it is going to cost you less money than a company that is located in Seattle and has a satellite office in Portland, Oregon, and another one in Spokane, Washington. Now the assessor will probably have to go to 3 locations. And so once again, it's travel time, hours, and whatnot. So that's why I say it depends. It depends on how your company is organized and where the locations are. Level 3, the way I interpreted this, was an additional $13,000 on top of the previous 105. But I've been told that's an incorrect assessment. So I really don't know because I could not find any table. To me, that's an additional $13,000. Okay, we are approximately halfway through. So it is 12:41 on my clock. Let's come back up 12:42. So let's come back at 2:50 and put your questions in the chat. And Leslie will read those when we come back in 7 minutes. And once we get through all the questions and answers, then we'll go on to the second half of this presentation. Okay, see you back in 7 minutes. So early on in the Department of Defense 5-year rollout of this cybersecurity requirement, this started January of 2020. Now we're 5 years later and it's become law. It's in effect. That first and second year, contractors were meeting with me and in classes that were asking the question, well, how do I know if this requirement is CUI, controlled unclassified information? And well, if you really want to know what CUI is, here's the instruction. Department of Defense Instruction 5200.48, titled Controlled Unclassified Information. But you really don't need to know what is CUI and what isn't CUI, because it is the agency's responsibility to tell you in the solicitation if there's CUI, and they are going through training right now. Their program managers and their project managers and their specification writers are going through that training, and what I think is going to happen is that every paragraph in a statement of work, they're going to have to identify which CMMC certification it is. Like, this paragraph is level 1, this paragraph is level 2, this paragraph is level 1, this paragraph is level 2. And so it is the government's responsibility when they write the solicitation to be able to identify what is CUI, and what levels are required, because most contractors don't self-perform 100% of the work. So that means you're going to be subcontracting out. So you're going to be writing subcontract statements of work and taking these paragraphs out that you want a subcontractor to do. And so in your subcontract, you're going to have to identify what CMMC certification level is required of that subcontractor in order for them to be awarded the contract. So if a contract is awarded at level 2, chances are there's a number of things within the statement of work that are level 1. So you write that subcontract because you're not going to self-perform it. You're going to write the statement of work. You're going to identify that this is a level 1 certification requirement, and you're going to send it out to your subcontractors who have disclosed to you that they have a level 1 certification. You can compete it amongst them and award a contract to a subcontractor that has a level 1 certification. So essentially, that's how that's going to work. So that second bullet there is what I just talked about. The program office or the requiring activity must identify the Department of Defense controlled unclassified information in the solicitation and the resulting contract. But if you really want to bone up on CUI, I have provided the website for you there. There's the link. So if you have problems reading at night, by all means, take a gander at that. Probably put you to sleep in about 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Controlled unclassified information. So early on, the Department of Defense came out with some examples of controlled technical information, which is CUI. And here's the list that they provided. And now I put it in my classes. So research and engineering data. So that's architect engineering work, engineering drawings, specifications, manuals, technical reports, catalog item identifications, studies and analysis, computer software executable code. So if an IT company is writing code for the Department of Defense, that is CUI. Source code is CUI. They went on and said, these industries are considered CUI. There are 4 NAICS codes: building construction, engineering, computer services, facility support services. Department of Defense has said this is CUI. So you're going to need a level 2 certification in order to be awarded these contracts. All right, so what's the journey to get your CMMC certification? Number 1, leadership needs to be informed and buy into this and pass it on down to their employees. Preparation and alignment. You need to learn and understand the CMMC model. What are the applicable requirements and what are the impacts to your organization? Number 2, determine what level that you're going to need. What industry are you in? Are you going to need a level 1? Are you going to need a level 2? Or are you going to need a level 3? So number 3 is identifying the gaps in those controls or those safeguards that you are not in compliance with. So it's identifying the gaps. And number 4 is remedying those gaps. And number 5 is audit preparation. And then number 6 is audit execution. So you are entering into a contract with a C3PO. You're getting probably at the bottom of their list. And when you come up your company's name comes up to the top of the list, then the C3PAO will contact you and say, we're ready to do an assessment, provide the following information, and we'll send out a CA to your site to check that you are in compliance with 110 controls, which includes physical security. Understand this, not just your IT computer system, it is also your physical security. Things like, do you lock your windows at night? Do you lock your doors at night? Do you lock up your CUI that you're working on during the day and you put it in a locking filing cabinet? That's physical security. That is all part of the 110 controls that you have to be in compliance with. So number 6, that audit execution. So if you pass muster, you meet all the requirements of those 110 controls for a level 2 certification. That certification is good for 3 years. And the C3PO, to identify a C3PO that you want to enter a contract with, there is their website, CyberAB, which stands for Cyber Accreditation Body. And you go to the marketplace in the upper right-hand corner and go to the next page, and you do the pull-down menus on the left-hand side and select a C3PO, and then you can select by time zone, so Pacific time zone, and you'll see all the C3POs that are available in the Pacific time zone. And then you can reach out, call 2, 3 of them, and find out what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take before they're available. Because some of those assessing C3POs might have an opening in 4 months, and another one, they might be 8 months out. So that needs to be part of your interaction with those C3POs so you can pick one and enter into a contract. Number 7, post-audit performance, performing ongoing compliance program, practices and processes, adherence and resiliency activities. So just because you get your certification, this month, your expenditures and your due diligence is not over. You gotta keep up with it for the 3 years that your certification is good for. If you have a violation, your certification will be pulled and you will start over again. So what are the benefits? Safeguarding sensitive information to enable and protect the warfighter. Enforcing the defense industrial base cybersecurity standards to meet evolving threats. Ensuring accountability while minimizing barriers to compliance with the Department of Defense requirements. Perpetuating a collective culture of cybersecurity and cyber resilience. Maintaining public trust through high professional and ethical standards. All right, so earlier I talked about in the Federal Acquisition Regulation, there is a requirement for the 15 safeguards. The clause is 52.201, 52.204-21, which is titled Basic Safeguards on Covered Contractor Information. And it was last updated in November of 2021. These 15 safeguards provide safeguards for all government contractors to protect federal contracting information, which is what we call FCI, Federal Contract Information, and non-public data generated by or for a contract. The 15 safeguards are all included in the NIST publication, the NIST special publication. And they constitute all of the CMMC Level 1 practices. CMMC Level 1 is a self-certification, as I said before. The 15 safeguards are on the next 2 pages. Here is 1 through 8. These are the 15 safeguards that you would actually see embedded in that clause, 52.204-21. These are the 15 safeguards that you need to be in compliance with in order to do your self-assessment and post your self-certification in PIEE in SPRS, SPRS. And that certification is good for 3 years. And once again, you have to reattest every year by a principal of the company that you are still in compliance with these 15 safeguards. And this is the rest of the safeguards, 9 through 15. So I put them right in this PowerPoint presentation so you don't have to go look it up. Okay, so what I have on the next pages is the level 2 requirements. And I've highlighted a few things because, most people don't speak IT, or maybe don't even have an IT person in your employ. So you may have to hire a registered practitioner from the accreditation body that has paid to take the training, has taken the test, has passed the test, gets a background investigation, and a couple other things before they become available for companies like you to hire to help you get your certification. So here I've highlighted a few things just to show you what these 110 controls are about. So the second one there, if you look over in the right-hand column, also known as install antivirus and software such as Defender, Norton, or McAfee. The fourth one, use antivirus software. We go down to the next yellow one, lock your doors and windows. Next one, monitor all entry and keep an inventory of keys and codes and tokens. We move on. Don't post federal information on Facebook or any other social media. Duh? Huh? Makes sense. Next, control access to the system. Requires you to know who and what has access. Catalog all connections and use tools like firewalls. Disable Telnet on your routers and switches. Backup CUI daily to some offsite location and test that can be completely restored to your systems in a timely manner. Execute a POAM. A lot of people don't know what a POAM is. It stands for Plan of Action and Milestones. You want to execute your POAM. Purchase spam protection. Here are a couple examples: Office 365, AppRiver, etc. Those are all software applications for spam protection. Okay, so I put these all in this PowerPoint presentation, so they'll be readily at hand for you. The CMC assessment process for level 2 critical and level 3. So you, the contractor, are considered an OSC, an organization seeking certification. You will submit a request for assessment to a C3PAO to obtain an assessment and a certification. So to find a C3PAO, you go to that website, cyberab.org. You will select Marketplace in the upper right-hand corner. In the next screen, you'll go to the ecosystem role, which is on the left-hand side, and select a C3PAO. As I said before, you check the box for C3PAO, and then you can go further down and select the time zone. If you don't care where they come from, then you don't have to select any time zone. And then you will see all of those C3PAOs that are available for you to contact. Do your market research, call up 2-3 of them, ask them when are they available and what's it going to cost. Number 2, so one or more certified assessors will be assigned by the C3PAO to conduct your assessment. And the C3PAO and the CA may be the same company. They may be 2 different companies. The CA may be a subcontractor to the C3PAO, or the C3PAO has a number of CAs in their employ, and they will send them out to your location. So the CA will conduct the assessment on behalf of the C3PAO. So the assessor does the assessment of those 110 controls for level 2 and gives the results to the C3PAO. Continuing on, then the C3PAO will report the results to the accreditation body, who reviews it for accuracy and completeness. And when the accreditation body says, good job, everything looks good, it's okay, then the C3PAO will issue the certificate, which is good for 3 years unless there is a violation. And number 6, the accreditation body will handle adjudication actions where the contractor, the OSC, disagrees with the findings of the assessor. So do not expect adjudications to be a timely process, but an interim pass will be given to the contractor until the adjudication is completed. So if the outcome of the adjudication says that the assessor is correct, you were not in compliance with that one control or two controls, so the 110, and so therefore your interim pass certification no longer exists. Or the adjudication may come out and say, in your favor, you were correct, the assessor was incorrect, and so now your interim pass certification will now be replaced with an actual certification that is good for 3 years. Here's a little pictorial of the hierarchy that I created. So at the top is the Department of Defense. That is their initiative, cybersecurity, CMMC. And they created the accreditation body. It is a nonprofit, third-party, independent organization of the Department of Defense. The C3PO is a certified third-party assessor organization. It's a commercial company, and it is the body that will issue the 3-year certification or the 3-year certificate. And the certified assessor is a subcontractor or an employee of the C3PAO, and the OSC is you, the organization seeking certification, your company. And so you'll see a little red arrow going down to each of those. So that is the flow chart, the organization chart, if you want to call it that, of who reports to who. And you will see at the very bottom, the OSC over to the far right, you'll see the arrow go back up to the C3PAO. So it is the C3PAO that issues the 3-year certificate of compliance for level 2 critical and level 3. So this next slide will be important to you. If you need help, here are 2 organizations that are also funded by the Department of Defense. The first one is Project Spectrum, and there is their website. It's a live connect there, and they provide no cost training for you. Now, that would be for companies that are not manufacturing. If you are a manufacturing company, then you will want to go to Impact Washington, and there is their website, and they can help you get your certification. Earlier, we talked about PIEE, and this is what that first page looks like. In the upper right-hand corner, you see new user in white and login in blue. So if you do not have a login and password, you're going to be clicking on new user and requesting a login and password. It takes 4 to 48 hours to get that. Once you get it, then you can enter into PIEE, and that is a suite of applications. And one of the applications that you are looking for is SPRS. And this is what that page looks like. Supplier Performance Risk System. And this is where your certification for level 1 or level 2 critical or level 3 will be recorded. And if you're doing a self-assessment, you'll be recording your self-assessment that you are certified level 1 or level 2 non-critical. It's all in there. And this is where the federal agency, before they can award a contract, will go to see that you have a certification that is still valid. So once again, it's good for 3 years. So if you got a certification and it expired after 3 years and you didn't follow on to get another one, and you had submitted a proposal to win an award of a contract and you let your certification lapse, you will not be awarded the contract. You got to keep your certification current. So earlier I talked about the 5 clauses for cybersecurity, and here they are. The very first one is a Federal Acquisition Regulation clause, and you'll see that the following 4 are Department of Defense clauses. You can always tell the difference between a FAR clause and a DFARS clause because the first number. The FAR clause numbers are 52 point, and a DFARS clause number is 252 point. So the basic safeguarding of covered contractor information is FAR Clause 52.204-21, and it was last updated November of 2021. It's been around for a long time. The DFARS Clause 204-7012, in that clause has a reporting requirement. If you got hacked, you had to inform the Department of Defense within X number of days that you got hacked. You need to let them know. The next 2 clauses are in orange, and these are the 2 clauses that related to the Department of Defense interim. What was that? Interim. Wow, it was just a few months ago. It was the interim cybersecurity requirement. So you would do a self-assessment and post it up into SPURS. So it is important to read your solicitation and see what cybersecurity clause are identified in your solicitation, which will be in the follow-on contract. Now, the clause we're talking about for CMMC is the one on the bottom. It's 252.204-7021. CMMC, January of 2023. If that clause is in your solicitation, that means that you are going to have a cybersecurity certification, 1, 2, or 3 in order to be awarded the contract. So those are the clauses that you need to be looking for in each solicitation from the Department of Defense. All right, it's quiz time. So what I would like you to do is to turn on your microphones. I'm going to ask you true or false questions, and you just shout out whether it's true or false. We'll see how good you retain the information that I provided today. CMMC is for all classified procurements. True or false?
True.
There's a whole lot more than one person out there. Let's chirp up. Come on. Is it true or false?
One person that's not shy.
Right. It is false. CMMC is not for classified procurements. It is for unclassified procurements. Okay. Number 2, Department of Defense cybersecurity requires contractors to be cyber secure before the award of a contract. True or false?
True.
That's correct. That is true. So prior to CMMC, there was a clause in the contract that after award of a contract, the contractor was supposed to do a self-assessment of their cybersecurity and report it to the federal agency, and they were not doing it. And the contracting officer of the agency was not following up with the contractor to see if they had done it. Both parties were at fault. So now we got CMMC. You have to be certified in order to be awarded a contract. Number 3, CMMC Level 2 requires a contractor to be in compliance with all controls in order to receive a certification. True or false?
True.
That is correct. It is true. You
Okay.
have to be in compliance with all controls, not some, all of them. Otherwise, you will not receive a certification. Number 4, all Department of Defense contractors, prime and subcontractors, will need a cybersecurity certification unless exempt. True or false?
True.
Oh, true.
It is true unless there is an exemption. Remember, I talked about two exemptions, COTS and the micro purchase threshold. Next page, number 5. You will be able to put your cybersecurity costs in your cost proposal as a direct cost. True or false?
False.
False.
That is correct. It is false. You cannot put it as a direct line item in your cost proposal, but you can put it and include it in your pool of indirect costs, and that's where you and how you will be compensated. Number 6, subcontractors will have the same CMMC level certification requirements as the prime contractor. True or
True.
false?
True.
Yes.
No, false.
False. So the example that I give, you didn't mention in the class, but here's another example. A contract is awarded to a contractor to build a building. So typically, those general contractors do not self-perform 100% of the work. So they are going to subcontract out. And as we identified in on one of the pages, that construction is considered CUI and therefore requires a level 2 certification in order to be awarded the contract. But building a building, not everything is CUI. For example, putting in the landscaping, putting in the asphalt parking lot, putting in the street lights around the parking lot are level 1. So if you're going to subcontract that out, you're going to put on that subcontract statement of work, level 1 certification is required. So that's why this is false. The question is, subcontractors will have the same CMMC level certification requirements as the prime contractor. False, because the contractor was awarded a level 2 a certification level 2 contract, but not everything in that statement of work is level 2. Some of it's level 1. And so it got awarded to a contract that needed to have a level 1 certification. Number
Would the
7.
solicitation then
Yeah.
state which part of it requires which level?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It is the agent's responsibility, the agency's responsibility to identify every paragraph in their requirement. If not everything is level 2, but is a combination of level 2 and level 1, then they need to identify which paragraphs are level 1. Because if you're going to want to subcontract that out, you're going to put it into a subcontract statement of work, and this is level 1. Okay. So it can be a combination of level 1 and level 2. Same thing if a contract is awarded with level 3 certification requirement, some of that work might be level 2, some of it might be level 1. So lots of different subcontracting opportunities.
So that flows from the prime contract, and the agency puts that into the bid document, so to speak.
It's in the solicitation.
Solicitation.
The agency has to identify in the solicitation what CMMC certification level is required to be awarded the contract. But in that statement of work, how many hundreds of pages it is, the agency needs to identify this is level 2, this is level 3, this is level 1, so on and so forth. So when you subcontract out, you know what to put in your subcontract to your subcontractor, that this is level 1 and this is level 3, and so on and so forth.
Cool.
Number 7, prime contractors are responsible for all subcontractors at every tier. True or false?
That is true.
Pardon me?
True. I say true.
I say true.
It is true.
That's true.
The prime contractor is responsible for every subcontractor at every tier. So what is happening is subcontractors are working with, prime contractors are working with their subcontractors and helping them get their certification. Otherwise, the prime contractor is not going to have any subcontractors to subcontract to. So they are incentivized also to help their subcontractors get their certifications. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to perform work because they need subcontractors. All right, number 8. There is one exception for CMMC for certification, and it is COTS. True or false?
False.
It is false. What is the other exception?
The
Micro
15
purchases.
micro
That's
purchase
it.
threshold.
That is right. Correct. Micro purchases. And the limit in the Department of Defense is now 15,000 vice 10,000 because it increased on October 1st. All right. Number 9. Under CMMC 2.0, the following industries will need a level 2 certification: research and development, architect engineering, IT coding, landscape architect, road striping, and construction. True or false?
I would say false. Not all of them do.
False. Yeah.
That's correct. It's false. Which ones would not require a level 2 certification?
Landscaping, road
Landscaping,
striping.
yeah.
Road striping.
Yep, correct. Landscape and road striping. Research and development requires it. Architect engineering requirements, IT coding, and construction is level 2. Number 10, under CMMC level 1, a contractor will need to enter into a contract with a C3PO to conduct a third-party cybersecurity audit. True or false?
False.
That's correct. It is false. Number 11, a cybersecurity certification includes physical security. True or false?
True.
True.
Lock your windows.
That's right. You got to lock your windows, lock your doors when you go home. And if you were working on a project that had CUI and it was on your desk before you leave to go to lunch or secure for the day, you've got to lock up that CUI information in a locking filing cabinet, in a safe, or whatever you got. Number 12, there are 2 CMMC level 2 certifications. One is a self-assessment and the other is a C3PAO certification. True or false?
True.
True.
That's correct. Number 13, CMMC level 1 self-certification requirements come from FAR clause 52.204-21, which are the 15 safeguards. True or false?
True.
Anybody else? It is true. So remember I said in that clause, it's only 2 pages long, and embedded in that clause are the 15 safeguards. And it's a self-certification for level 1. Number 14, a Department of Defense CMMC cybersecurity certification is valid for 1 year and must be reaffirmed annually. True or false?
False.
False.
That's correct. It is false. It is valid for 3 years,
3 years.
not 1 year. Okay, number 15. Once you have a CMMC certification, you must affirm compliance annually. True or false?
That part's true.
True.
That is correct. That is true. So once you get your certification, a principal of your company every 12 months must reaffirm that you are still in compliance with all, whether it's level 1, level 2, or level 3. Number 16, last question. The Department of Justice prosecutes contractors under the False Claims Act for lying about their cybersecurity compliance.
True.
We didn't talk about this.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would assume it's true.
It is true. And they have already taken 2 contractors to court, and the contractors lost. And what happened in each of those instances is that the contractor lied about their score under the DoD interim rule. That's what I was trying to remember early. It's the DoD interim rule that was in place for the last 5 years. And the Department of Defense did not care what your score was. You had to review the 110 controls, and you had to identify which ones you were in compliance with and which ones you were not. You started out with a total of 110, and if you answered, no, I'm not in compliance with any of these, your score would have been a minus 220. And so what those contractors did, they wanted to look good and they gave themselves a higher score, and they went into PIEE, into SPURS, and they put in that score. Well, somebody ratted them out, and Department of Justice took them to court, and they lost because they lied about their score. And there was no reason for them to do that, because the Department of Defense did not care what your score was. All they cared is that you did a self-assessment. And if you had the worst score, minus 220, you would still have been awarded contracts. There you go. Amazing. All right. So in summary, I have 2 pages of in summary. So number one, get started now. If you want to be a Department of Defense contractor or subcontractor, because if you need a level 2 certification, I mentioned this before, it takes from beginning to end about 12 to 18 months to get a level 2 certification. And a lot of it you have no control over, and that's why it takes so long. Number 2, conduct a self-assessment of yourself or hire a company to assist you. There are RPOs and RPAs and RPs available now to hire. You find RPs, RPAs, and RPOs on the cyberab.org website. You select Marketplace, go under the ecosystem rule, select an RP or RPA or RPO, and you can select the primary time zone. And as of February 9th, which was 2 days ago, there are 2,570 companies or individuals available for you to hire to help you get your certification. Next bullet, expect to wait. C3POs will be in short supply. So plan on several months delay before an audit can start. Next bullet, there are qualified assessors now, 97 C3PAOs. Remember, I did that little calculation for you based on 90,000 companies are going to need level 2 certification, and I'm probably not going to be able to quickly find it, but I think it was something like, maybe you can help me. What did I say? For every C3PAO, there is about 927 companies that for each C3PAO. Yeah, it's a lot. So you got to expect to wait. So get started now, get in the queue, and then when your number comes up, you'll get your assessment. Where are we at now? Next bullet, you may request an assessment now, anytime. Assessors are available. There it goes. There it is. It takes 12 to 18 months to get a level 2 certification, so start now. One more page on summary. You must be certified at time of award in order to be awarded a contract. Get secured and stay secured. DoD wants and needs contractors. All federal departments will require to have cybersecurity requirements in their contracts. As of last December, every federal executive branch is supposed to have cybersecurity requirements in their solicitations now, which will end up in their contracts. Cybersecurity applies to both prime contractors and subcontractors. Add your CMMC certification level to your capability statement. You got a capability statement, put on there that you are certified at CMMC level 2, CMMC level 1, whatever. Next, ask for a mock assessment from your C3PAO. You will get no consulting service, and it does not affect your cage code. So that came from a recent conference that I went to. You can ask for a mock assessment. They will give you their findings, but you will not be able to consult with them. Last, select a C3PO that knows your industry. I took this away from a recent conference also. So if you are a construction company, you're going for a level 2 certification. That is one of the interview questions that you want to ask the C3PAO. What is your knowledge and experience in construction? Well, I'm a fisherman. Oh, thank you very much. Moving on to the next one. Call the next one. What is your experience in construction? Do you know the construction industry? Well, yes. I built the Tower of Pisa in Italy. Yes, I know construction. Oh, okay. Well, I'll consider you. In red, at the bottom, read all future solicitations to see if there is a cybersecurity requirements. So that goes back to my page where I identified the 5 clauses for cybersecurity. Know which clauses, if any, are in the solicitation. Okay, so here are some learning resources for you that I've identified. There is the website for each one of those if you want to read more about those. The cyber accreditation body, which is what we've been talking about, the accreditation body to find RPs and RPOs and RPAs to help you get your certification. The next ones are the clauses, so you can actually read about the clause. Down at the bottom is NIST SP 800-171A, which is what you would want for level 2 non-critical to do a self-assessment, and for level 2 critical, where you've got to be in compliance and then enter into a contract with the C3PAO, and they're going to send out an assessor to assess whether you are in compliance with all 110 controls. And the last bullet is PIEE, where you have to request a login and password to get access to SPURS on the following page. My upcoming classes, February 25th, is contract modifications. These are all virtual classes. Next one is request for equitable adjustment on March 11th. If you have a DoD contract, how do you get paid? You get paid in WAF, Wide Area Workflow. So I have a class on that also. And then April starts the new year for us. Our year starts April 1st through March 31st. And I start over again with my classes. And my very first one each year is Federal Contracting Lexicon, learning to speak the language. That is so important, that there is a communication and a meeting of the minds of just what you are talking about, using the right terms in words and acronyms and abbreviations and whatnot. Followed by the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulations on April 22nd. Ethics in federal government contracting. Yes, I'm here to tell you there are ethics. And there are lots of them. So I created a class just for that. And last, steps leading to a federal contract on May 13th. We talk about all the steps leading up to award, and I throw in a couple of bonus ones for things for you to think about after award also. Monthly sessions at Kitsap. The very first one is Contract Coffee Hour. It is the first Wednesday of each month from 8 to 9:30. That's where you can come with any concerns or questions about government contracting, federal, state, or local. Actually, people end up doing networking right there and doing business with each other. The next one is Prime Connect. That is the second Wednesday of each month, and that was this morning from 8 to 9 o'clock. And that's where we have 1 or 2 prime contractors who are looking for subcontractors in various industries. So they get a few minutes to identify their company, what industry they're in, what subcontracting opportunities they have, and how you can get vetted with them to be a subcontractor with them. So quite often what happens every month, the same subcontractors come back because every month it's a different prime contractor. The third one is Wednesdays with the Deputies for Small Business. It is a hybrid. You can attend in person in Paulsbo at the Vibe or virtually. It is usually the last Wednesday of each month, and it's from 10 to 11:30. That is where The local deputies for small business attend. The one that hosts it is Mr. David Walsh from Keyport, the research and development for torpedoes, and he will bring in occasionally the NAVFAC deputy for small business, Mr. Jim Niles, and the one in the shipyard, and the one at the Naval Supply Center in Bremerton also. They talk about how to do business with each location, what solicitations that are on the street now, which ones are coming, and they have guest speakers each month, somebody different. So there's a lot to be learned there. And at the bottom is where you can register to attend any of these or all of them. They're all free, so they may be beneficial to you. Here's a map of the state of Washington that shows our 8 geographic regions. I'm in Region 1, Kitsap County. It covers North Mason also. We have 3 part-time advisors here to help you with any government contracting, federal, state, or local. We have about 16 advisors throughout the state. Tomorrow you will receive a post survey, 5 questions. The first 3 are required and the last 2 are optional. Please take a couple of minutes to fill those out. That helps me improve my class for the next time I present it. If you don't have an Apex Accelerator advisor assigned to you and you are in Kitsap County or North Mason, your point of contact is our program manager, Mr. James Davis. There's his phone number and his email address. If you are elsewhere in the state of Washington, you would go to our website, washingtonapex.org, and sign up to be a client, and you'll be assigned an advisor that is closest to your business address. If you are outside of the state of Washington, you'll go to napex.us and request an advisor to be assigned to you in your state, the closest one to where your business is. We want to give special thanks to our supporters. The very first one on the left is DES, that's the Department of Enterprise Services with the state of Washington, Port of Seattle, City of Seattle, National Apex Accelerators, and in the bottom left is Security Brinks, powered by Aprio. They are the only C3PAO in the state of Washington. Certainly that might be one of them that you contact to get a price to get your certification for level 2 critical or level 3. Okay, we are at the end now. Thank you for attending my class on Department of Defense CMMC.